World War II stands as the largest and deadliest conflict in human history, engulfing over 100 million people across more than 30 countries. This global catastrophe primarily pitted the Allied powers against the Axis powers, reshaping the world order and leaving an indelible mark on human civilization. The seeds of this devastating war were sown in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, left Germany humiliated and economically crippled, creating a breeding ground for resentment and extremism. This environment gave rise to totalitarian regimes, with figures like Adolf Hitler in Germany, Benito Mussolini in Italy, and Hideki Tojo in Japan seizing power and promoting aggressive expansionist policies. The international community's response to these growing threats proved inadequate. The League of Nations, established to prevent future conflicts, failed to curb the ambitions of these aggressive states. Western democracies, still reeling from the horrors of the First World War, adopted a policy of appeasement, inadvertently emboldening the Axis powers to push their territorial ambitions further. The powder keg of Europe finally ignited on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. This act of aggression prompted Britain and France to declare war, marking the official beginning of World War II. The following year saw Germany's lightning conquest of much of Western Europe, including France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, using its innovative blitzkrieg tactics. 1941 proved to be a pivotal year in the conflict's trajectory. In June, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union that opened up a brutal Eastern Front. Then, on December 7th, Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor drew the United States into the war, transforming it into a truly global conflict. The tide of the war began to turn in 1942 and 1943 with several key Allied victories. The Battle of Stalingrad saw Soviet forces decisively defeat the German army, marking the beginning of the end for Nazi ambitions in the East. In the Pacific, the Battle of Midway dealt a crushing blow to Japan's naval power, shifting the balance in favor of the United States. June 6, 1944, saw one of the war's most iconic moments, the D-Day invasion. Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, establishing a foothold in Western Europe that would eventually lead to the liberation of occupied territories and the push into Germany itself. The war in Europe concluded on May 8, 1945, with Germany's unconditional surrender. However, the conflict in the Pacific raged on. It took the unprecedented use of atomic weapons, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, to finally bring Japan to surrender on September 2, 1945, marking the end of World War II. Throughout the conflict, the Allied powers, primarily the United States, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, China, and France, stood united against the Axis powers of Germany, Italy, and Japan. This alliance of diverse nations, often with conflicting ideologies, proved crucial in overcoming the Axis threat. World War II was not only a military conflict but also a period of unparalleled human suffering and atrocity. The Holocaust, Nazi Germany's systematic murder of 6 million Jews and millions of other undesirables, stands as one of history's darkest chapters. Civilian populations across the globe endured mass bombings, forced relocations, and countless war crimes committed by all sides of the conflict. The war drove rapid advancements in technology and military strategy. Tanks and aircraft carriers revolutionized warfare on land and sea. The development of radar gave defenders a crucial edge, while code-breaking efforts, such as the cracking of the German Enigma machine, provided invaluable intelligence. The introduction of nuclear weapons in the war's final days ushered in a new era of global tension and strategic thinking. The aftermath of World War II reshaped the global landscape. Over 70 million people had lost their lives, with civilian casualties often outweighing military losses. Europe and large parts of Asia lay in ruins, their economies shattered and infrastructure destroyed. The United Nations was formed in an attempt to prevent future conflicts of such magnitude, though its effectiveness would be tested in the decades to come. The war's end marked the beginning of a new global conflict, the Cold War. Between the United States and the Soviet Union, these former allies now found themselves locked in an ideological struggle that would dominate international relations for nearly half a century. The power vacuum left by the defeated Axis nations and weakened European powers accelerated the process of decolonization, as subjugated peoples across Africa and Asia sought independence. Germany, once the heart of Nazi power, found itself divided. The Berlin Wall would soon become a stark symbol of the Iron Curtain separating East and West. Japan, meanwhile, underwent a period of Allied occupation and reconstruction that would dramatically reshape its society and government. World War II left an indelible mark on human history, reshaping borders, ideologies, and the balance of global power. Its legacy continues to influence international relations, military strategy, and our understanding of human nature in times of extreme crisis. As the generations who lived through this cataclysmic event pass on, it falls to us to remember their sacrifices, learn from the mistakes of the past, and work tirelessly to prevent such a devastating conflict from ever occurring again. The war's impact extended far beyond the battlefield, touching every aspect of society. Economies were completely restructured to support the war effort, with women entering the workforce in unprecedented numbers to fill the gaps left by men serving in the military. This shift would have lasting effects on gender roles and societal expectations in many countries. Scientific and technological progress accelerated at a breakneck pace during the war years. Advances in aviation, rocketry, and electronics laid the groundwork for future space exploration and the digital revolution. Medical breakthroughs in areas such as blood transfusion and antibiotics saved countless lives both during and after the conflict. The horrors of the war also sparked a renewed focus on human rights and international law. The Nuremberg and Tokyo trials set precedents for holding individuals accountable for war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948, was a direct response to the atrocities committed during the war. As we reflect on World War II, we are reminded of the tremendous cost of conflict and the importance of vigilance in preserving peace. The war's lessons about the dangers of unchecked aggression, the power of international cooperation, and the resilience of the human spirit continue to resonate today. It stands as a stark reminder of both the depths of human cruelty and the heights of human courage and sacrifice. World War II was a global conflict that reshaped the world order and left an indelible mark on human history. The war's origins can be traced back to the aftermath of the Great Depression in 1929, which fueled economic turmoil and gave rise to extremist ideologies in Germany, Italy, and Japan. As these nations embraced fascism and militarism, tensions began to escalate on the world stage. In East Asia, Japanese expansionism became a major source of conflict. The invasion of Manchuria in 1931 and the full-scale invasion of China in 1937 signaled Japan's aggressive intentions and set the stage for future confrontations. Meanwhile, in Europe, Nazi ideology promoted concepts of racial superiority, territorial expansion known as Lebensraum, and virulent anti-Semitism. These dangerous ideas would soon plunge the continent into chaos. The late 1930s saw the formation of the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo axis, uniting fascist regimes under a common banner. This alliance would become the primary antagonist of the Allied powers during the war, setting the stage for a global confrontation of unprecedented scale. As hostilities erupted, the conflict unfolded across several major theaters of war. In the European theater, Nazi Germany unleashed its Blitzkrieg or lightning war tactics, swiftly conquering Poland, France, and the Low Countries. However, the most brutal and costly fighting would occur on the Eastern Front, where over 20 million Soviet citizens lost their lives in a titanic struggle against the Nazi war machine. The Pacific theater was dominated by the conflict between the United States and Japan. Key battles such as Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa became legendary engagements that tested the resolve of both sides. The U.S. employed an island-hopping strategy, gradually pushing back Japanese forces and tightening the noose around the Japanese home islands. In North Africa, the desert sands became a battleground as Axis forces led by the cunning Erwin Rommel, known as the Desert Fox, clashed with British and Allied troops. The campaign culminated in the Allied victory at El Alamein in 1942, marking a turning point in the war in Africa. The nature of warfare itself evolved dramatically during World War II, with new weapons and tactics reshaping the battlefield. Air power played a crucial role, with extensive bombing raids targeting cities like London, Dresden, and Tokyo. German U-boats prowled the Atlantic, threatening Allied shipping and nearly bringing Britain to its knees. Technological advancements led to the introduction of V-1 and V-2 rockets by Germany, foreshadowing the missile age to come. Perhaps the most terrifying development of the war was the first and only use of atomic weapons in warfare.